CGST on petroleum products. What is 9.3? Notified RCM. What is 9.4? RCM from unregistered person. What is 9.5? Taxability of e-commerce operator. We have done with the 9353 all the notifications, all the items except last one, bank is the target. I'm moving into the bank. Services provided by an individual direct selling agent. Yeah. Any services, let it be any services. Sir, service provider yaar irukna perle irukku individual direct selling agent. So is an individual direct selling agent other than body corporate. Kandipa. The name itself carrying individual direct selling agent. It should not be a or partnership firm or LLP, limited liability partnership firm. Basically, the service provider should be an individual. If he is providing service to a banking company, non-banking finance company, or located in taxable territory, you tell me whether individual is strong or banking company NBFC is strong. Individual is weak. RCM means sir, shifting of the tax liability from the weak to the strong. So that individual is not supposed to pay GST. The recipient being the banking company or NBFC located in taxable territory is liable to pay GST. Shall I move to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Services by business facilitator to the banking company, right?
Yes, sir.
So service is provided by the business facilitator to a banking company. So a service provider is business facilitator. That business facilitator may be an individual or maybe less than company or any person. And the recipient is a banking company located in taxable territory. Sir, you are thinking business facilitator is strong or banking company is strong? Banking company is strong. So from the weak we have shifted the liability to the strong. So the banking company located in taxable territory is the person liable to pay GST. Service by an agent of business correspondent to the business correspondent. Agent of business correspondent to the business correspondent. So one person is acting as an agent, other person is acting as a principal. Sir, who are weak, who is strong? Agent is weak and principal is strong. Let the principal pay tax on reverse charge basis. So service provided by agent of business correspondent to business correspondent. So the service provider is agent of business correspondent. And service recipient is business correspondent located in taxable territory. Then the business correspondent located in taxable territory is the person liable to pay GST on reverse charge basis. Then service provided by member of overseeing committee to RBI. Sir, any services, who is the service provider? Member of overseeing committee constituted by RBI. That member may be one person, individual, right? Sir, are you thinking that individual is strong or the RBI is strong? Obviously RBI is strong. So from the weak we have shifted the responsibility of payment of tax to the strong, that is RBI. That is why members of overseeing committee by the RBI to the RBI. Next one, lending of securities. Service, what service you are providing? You know, service of lending of security under the securities lending scheme of SEBI, right? That means you are having some securities, you have invested in securities, you are holding lot of securities. As per the SEBI guidelines, you are lending that securities. எப்படி நம்ம immobile property வாடகை கொடுறோமோ அதே மாதிரி securities வாடகை கொடுறாங்க, ரைட்டா? யார் சார் service provider? Lender. There is a person who deposit the security registered in his name or in the name of any other person duly authorized on this behalf with an approved intermediary for the purpose of lending under the scheme of SEBI. So service provider is lender, whereas service recipient is yaar? Borrower. A person who borrows the security under the scheme through an approved intermediary of what? SEBI. So three characters will be there. Lender will be there, approved intermediary of SEBI will be there, and borrower will be there, right?
Yes, sir.
So you are playing with securities. The borrower is taking the risk of NSR, taking securities from the intermediary of what? SEBI. So he should be very strong because he is borrowing the securities, right? So the lender is not responsible for payment of GST, whereas the borrower is responsible for payment of GST, right?
Yes,
sir, special note for IGST, list of service taxable under reverse charge. The service where tax is payable by the recipient. Sir, notification number 10/2017 dated something 2017 as notified. Specified category of supply of service wherein whole of IGST shall be paid on NHRG basis by the recipient of services. So all the service which has been notified for reverse charge under ENACT. White notification number 13/2017, sir, with effect from 1/7/2017 has also been notified for NHRG under the enact. For the 2 services were additionally included. Now out of 2 services, 1 has been deleted for our examination. Ineffectively, one is there. With this we can say that we are through with the list of 91, 92, 93, 94, 95 and especially the 93 and the 53 list. Are you all really with me?
Yes, sir.
So I am shifting to the next chapter, sir. Exemption I am moving. Section NSR 11. A stands for agriculture and art related services. B stands for C stands for D stands for E stands for F stands for G stands for goods and GTA. H stands for healthcare services. I stands for immobile property and insurance. J stands for jungle. K stands for knowledge. L stands for legal services. M stands for Mecca. N stands for NCCCD. O stands for other events. P stands for pension related services. Q stands for qualification. R stands for regulatory. S stands for Sarkar. T stands for U stands for unincorporated body. V stands for vegetables. W stands for works contract. X stands for exhibition outside India. Y stands for Yojana and Z stands for. My dear lovable students, if you are hearing for the first time, there are a lot of exemptions are there. So for easiness, we have classified alphabet because we are very strong in A to Z. That's why we have classified like that. So A stands for agriculture and art related services, right?
Yes,
Agriculture and art related services, these are the exemption. We are having classified into 2 categories, part 1 and part 2. Part 1, supply of farm labor, basic agricultural operations, process carried out at agricultural farm, renting or leasing of agro-machinery or vacant land for the purpose of agriculture, loading, unloading, packing, storage and warehousing of agricultural produce, agriculture extension services, services provided by any agency for purchase or sale of agricultural produce, right? If you are hearing for the first time, supply of farm labor, if you are supplying farm labor, that is exempt from GST. Basic agricultural operations, my dear lovable students, like cultivation, harvesting, threshing, plant protection or testing, all are basic agriculture operation, all are exempt from GST. Process carried out at agricultural farm, whatever process you are carried out at agricultural farm, like tending, pruning, cutting, harvesting, drying, cleaning, trimming, sun drying, fumigating, curing, sorting, grading, cooling, bulk packaging and such like operation, very important, which do not alter the essential characteristics of agriculture produce but make it only marketable for the inner market, primary market, are exempt from GST. Renting or leasing of agro-machinery or vacant land for the purpose of agriculture without a structure incidental to use is exempt from GST. If you are engaged in the service of loading, unloading, packing, storage and warehousing of agricultural produce is exempt from GST. If you are training the farmers how to use the new technology, that's what agriculture extension services is all about. That is exempt from GST. And services provided by APMC, that is a committee, my dear lovable students, Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee or board or service provided by a commission agent for purchase or sale of agriculture produce are exempt from GST. Sir, as compared to part number 1, part number 2 is not that much big. It is small, correct? That's why service provided by warehousing of minor forest produce. Minor forest produce. Service provided by artificial insemination of livestock other than horses. So if you are engaged in the activity of artificial insemination of livestock other than horses, it is exempt from GST. Horse will not be treated as agricultural produce. Horse is a commercial product, my dear lovable students. Even in direct tax, loss from owning and maintaining of race horses, we are treated separately. Yes, sir. Sir, carrying out intermediate production process as job work. You are doing something as a worker, job worker, in relation to either cultivation of plant or rearing of all life form of animal, except the rearing of what? Always horses. Examination, they may say stud farm. If they say stud farm, stud means horse. For food, fiber, fuel, raw material or other similar or agricultural produce are exempt from. Earlier this was exempted, now it has been deleted. Service provided by fumigation in a warehouse of agricultural produce are taxable. Service by way of loading, unloading, packing, storage and warehousing of rice. Earlier there were doubt that, there were fight that rice is not an agricultural produce. Yes, still rice is not an agricultural produce. Rice is not an agricultural produce. Only paddy is an agricultural produce. But still, so if you are engaged in loading, unloading, packing, storage and warehousing of rice, then it is enough from GST. And storage and warehousing of cereal, pulses, fruits and vegetables are exempt from GST. So we can consolidate, sir, agriculture like this, agriculture related exemption like this. A stands for agriculture and art related services. Shall we say very quickly once? Supply of farm labor, basic agriculture operations, process carried out at agricultural farm, renting or leasing of agro-machinery or vacant land for the purpose of agriculture, loading, unloading, packing, storage and warehousing of agricultural produce, agriculture extension service and service provided by any agency for purchase and sale of agricultural produce. Shall I move to the part 2? Is it a big part, small part? Small part. Service by way of warehousing of minor forest produce, service by way of artificial insemination of livestock other than horses, service provided by intermediate production process as job work, service provided by a fumigation in a warehouse of agriculture produce is taxable. Services provided by way of loading, unloading, packing, storage and warehousing of, service provided by storage and warehousing of cereals, pulses, fruits and vegetables are, I'm moving into the A stands for art related services. Service by an artist. This service will be provided by artist, so mandatory it should be individual, right? Yes, so service provided by an artist by way of performance in the folk or classical art form of music, dance or theatre. Music, dance or if the consideration charged for such performance is not more than, for example, I am an artist, my dear lovable students. I am providing some services relating to music, dance or theatre like Kathakali, Kuchipudi, all those, and Bharatanatyam, all those I am playing. And if the consideration per performance does not exceed how much? 1,50,000, then that is exempt from GST. However, the exemption shall not apply to service provided by such artists as an ambassador, brand ambassador. So if they are providing that service as a brand ambassador, even though without consideration limit, that will be liable to GST, because brand ambassador is commercial in nature. Commercial in nature, sir, it is fully always taxable, right? Yes, performance like Western dance, sir, Western music or Western dance or modern theatres or performance of actors in film or television serials would be taxable. These NSR services are not covered in this exemption. So if NSR, you are engaged as a serial actor, Bhagyalakshmi, then Bhagyalakshmi is liable to pay GST. For her, even though she is an artist, she won't get this NSR exemption. Brand ambassador means a person engaged for promotion of marketing of brand, of goods or service or property or actionable claim, even for endorsement of name, including a trade name, logo or housemark of any person. That means Virat Kohli is a brand ambassador for many products, right up. So one line summary, service provided by an artist by way of performance in folk or classical art form of music, dance and theatre, where the per performance consideration does not exceed is enough from GST. Right, sir. B stands for bridge. Sir, service provided with access to road or bridge on payment of toll charges are exempt from. So toll charges paid to access road or bridge are exempt from GST. That means, sir, toll charges paid to access to road or bridge are exempted, whereas toll charges paid to access road or bridge on payment of annuity is taxable, right? So that has been already removed from the list, sir. Don't stare at me. Service provided by way of access to road or bridge on payment of any charges, toll charges is exempted. And if it is by way of payment of annuity, it is taxable, right? And we are having C stands for, sir, cab. Cab is part 1, part 2, part 3. Shall I move into the part 1? Yes, metered cab or auto rickshaw including e-rickshaw, railway other than first class and AC, monorail, metro, tramway, inland waterways, public transport other than predominantly for tourism purpose in a vessel between places located in India. My dear lovable students, if you are listening for the first time, C stands for cab. If you are providing cab related services, you are not liable to pay GST. Number 1, metered cab or auto rickshaw including e-rickshaw. It's not Ola, Uber I am talking about. It is normal metered cab or auto rickshaw including e-rickshaw. Railway, in railway other than first class and AC. That means if you are traveling in first class and AC, it is liable to GST. Otherwise, you are not liable to pay GST. Monorail, metro, tramway. We are having Chennai metro. In that, there is no GST will be there because it is in the specified list of section 11. And inland waterways, sir, and the public transport other than predominantly for tourism. That means if it is predominantly for tourism, it is liable for GST. Other than predominantly for tourism, in a vessel, in a patram vessel between places located in India. So in patram, you are going from one place to another place in India, then you are not liable to pay GST in India. However, nothing contained in item number 1 above shall apply to service supplied through a commerce operator and notified under 9(5) of the CGST Act. Yes, happy services, correct? Yes, H stands for housekeeping services. A stands for accommodation services. P stands for passenger transportation service. But this metered cab or auto rickshaw, including e-rickshaw, is supplied through an e-commerce operator. This exemption will not be applicable. As per 9 subsection 5, e-commerce operator is liable to pay GST. In order to be happy, have ORS in your life. Be healthy, then be happy. Correct? ORS. O stands for omnibus. Sir, R, NSR. S stands for restaurant services. Other than specified places. Sir, what is the definition of specific place where the tariff, declared tariff, exceeds 7,000? Right, sir. Sir, service provided by of giving on hire to a state transport undertaking, a motor vehicle meant to carry more than passengers, 12 passengers. For example, sir, if you are having a bus, if you are giving that bus to a hire to a state transport undertaking, it is having the capacity of more than 12 passengers, my dear lovable students, then it is exempt from GST. Or service provided to the central government way of transportation of passenger with or without accompanying belongings by air embarking or terminating at a regional connectivity airport scheme against consideration in the form of viability and funding, gap funding are exempt from GST. But this exemption is maximum. Particularly this exemption, sir, is nothing contained in this entry shall apply on or after the expiry of period of how many years? From the date of commencement of operation of RCS airport as notified by the Ministry of Civil Aviation. Are you really with me? This is part number 2. And part number 3, we are having transport of passenger with or without accompanying belongings by air and economy class. This economy class is very important. Air embarking or terminating from states of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Sikkim, Nagaland, Tripura, Bagdodra. Non-AC contract carriage other than radio taxi and non-AC stage carriage are exempt from GST. However, nothing contained in B and C, my dear lovable students, that is non-AC contract carriage and non-AC stage carriage, shall apply to service supplied through a commerce operator and notified under section 9(5) of the CGST Act. We are having happy services. Leah. H stands for housekeeping services. A stands for accommodation services. P stands for passenger transportation services. In order to be happy in your life, have ORS. O stands for omnibus and RS stands for restaurant services. Clear? So shall we recall once the C stands for cab? Yes, sir. Cab, sir. Metered cab or auto rickshaw will be other than first class and AC monorail, metro, tram, inland waterways, public transport, other than only for tourism purposes, vessel which is situated places inside India. Sir, part number 2. Services provided by hiring of means of transport to a state transport undertaking having a capacity of more than 12 passengers. Service provided to central government by transportation of passengers by air to regional country airport scheme for consideration has been received by way of viability gap funding. And the third one, sir, air embark or terminating from states of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Sikkim, Nagaland, Tripura, Bagdodra, non-AC contracts other than radio taxi and non-AC stage carriage. Are you clear? Yes, sir. A stands for agricultural and agricultural services. B stands for bridge. C stands for cab. D stands for diplomatic mission. E stands for electricity. F stands for financial services. Electricity, very simple, sir. Services D and E, correct? Yes, the service provided by foreign diplomatic mission located in India is fully exempt from GST. So foreign diplomatic mission, this is the analysis. Service provided to foreign diplomatic mission is service provided by foreign diplomatic mission is exempted, right? Service provided by transmission or distribution of electricity. Transmission of distribution of electricity by transmission or distribution utility is exempt from. So when we are getting current from the NSR government, it is enough from GST. And service supplied by a EDU. Whose EDU? Electricity distribution utility by construction, erection, commissioning or installation of infrastructure for extending or electricity distribution network up to the tube hole of the farmer or agriculturist for agriculture use are exempt from GST. Sometimes, sir, what this electricity distribution utilities will do, you know, they will be extending the network, electricity network up to the tube hole of the farmer. For that purpose, whatever service has been provided by construction, erection, commissioning or installation are exempt from GST, right? Yes. Transmission or distribution of utility means the Central Electricity Authority, sir, or the State Electricity Board or Central Transmission Utility or State Transmission Utility notified under the Electricity Act or a distribution or transmission license under the said Act or any other entity entrusted with such function by central government as may be by the state government, right? Yes, so we have started talking about exemption, my dear lovable students. A stands for agricultural, B stands for bridge, C stands for, D stands for, E stands for electricity, and F stands for financial services. G stands for goods and GTA. H stands for healthcare services. I stands for immovable property and insurance services. J stands for jungle. K stands for L stands for M stands for Mecca. N stands for O stands for other events. P stands for Q stands for R stands for S stands for T stands for U stands for V stands for W X Y stands for and Z stands for. Sir, before you listen to the tomorrow's morning lecture, try to revise A, B, C, D, E and E up to E and try to have 5 or 6 revision in your hand. Then you will be able to, sir, join along with me. Then the confidence will be very level. Are you all really with me?
Yes, sir.
Sir, consistency is the hallmark of success. If you want to be successful in anything in your life, it's not based upon how much skill you are having, how much consistent you are having. If you are consistent, you can achieve anything in your life. Let you take any person who have succeeded, they will be consistent. For the next 45 days, I don't know whether what I am saying is correct or not, but for the time being, legally 45 days is the correct time. So for the next 45 days, sir, you have to study very well. At least you should be before the books for, sir, at least 12 hours minimum effectively, 14 to 15 hours in a sir maximum. For this, you have to have so many do's and don'ts. The first do what you are supposed to do is you have to sit and study. So try to do that. Sir, still no legal notification has come from ICAI. Don't know when they will be releasing. So for the time being, 45 days is the time. So we will keep it as 45 days itself. Revise daily and be cool. And daily, whatever you can do, you add to your brain. Be happy, enjoy studies. We'll meet tomorrow morning for the happy morning with ANM. Till that, thank you and bye-bye from ANM.